liberty. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your day's off to a good start. But I hope we get headed in that right direction. It's been a great week for us here on the program, as always, and we'll finish her up strong as we usually do. Todd Leary will join us today. We'll also talk to Hall of Fame sports writer Andy Graham. Lots to get to. Got baseball coming up today. Indiana hitting the mound at 2 p.m. to open NCAA tournament play down in Louisville. We'll be there to cover that for you. Follow me at Jim Coyle ISB on Twitter. At Jim Coyle ISB. Complete updates on that. We'll hear from the coaches, the players. As always, hope things are going well for you. The visits are underway for Indiana. I've already got a text in from Tim. Looks like that Zach Loveday and Trey Galloway really liked their visits, said they want to come back for another visit, and both want to commit before their senior season starts. I wonder if they got to talk to each other while they were on their visits. If they were here at the same time, I'm sure they did. Yeah, I wouldn't mind or be surprised at all to see several commitments for the next class for Indiana. Leo, I mean, as soon as he's allowed to commit, I'm sure he will commit. But a lot of visits this week. On the a busy week for Archie. All right, he had Hubers on Wednesday in the middle of all these visits, but they don't spend every waking minute with him anyway. But took him away for a little bit. Zach Loveday, a 7-footer, of course. He's in the 2020 class. He made an unofficial visit to Indiana. He's ranked number 51 nationally overall in the 2020 class by 247 Sports. He's the number 8 ranked center in the country. That means there's a lot of centers in that top 40. He's an Ohio native. He currently plays at Powerhouse Huntington, West Virginia Prep. But that's definitely some height that the Archie would love to have. See what they get done with it, though. They didn't have a lot of luck in the 2019 class. Moved those scholarships over. He was asked about that the other night, and his answer was that it gave them greater roster flexibility for the first time. Kind of funny. He had given flexibility because they couldn't fill them. I mean, truth be told, the only reason they had the flexibility is because they'd been turned down repeatedly. So, if that's what that is, that's what that is. But I don't think they'll have a problem filling those scholarships next year. They'll have plenty of suitors for those. It's all according to getting the players that they want to get. It's a big class coming up, 20 and 21. During the visit, Loveday mainly spent time with the IU coaches and seeing the basketball part of campus. According to him, you can see the eliteness of the facilities. He told Peegs.com. Everything was top of the line, really high-class facilities. The training rooms and weight rooms, everything was really nice. Said he gained a new comfort level for how he would fit in at IU. Of course, I've never heard or expected a visit to go bad. I never expect a kid to say, "Oh, that visit sucked." It wasn't very good. But that one seemed to go well. Trey Galloway, Anthony Leal, Zach Loveday, all on the IU radar. Right now, Indiana's looking at being shorthanded next year. You've got 2 open scholarships, but not just that. You've got Jerome Hunter, who is still a big, gigantic question mark. Right now, that gives them 10 scholarship players. Which would have Archie playing through the end of his bench. We'll see how that works out. Last year, it was devastating with all the injuries that they had. Another similar situation would be even more devastating to a program with only 10 scholarship players available. Hopefully that won't happen. And it's not something they'll have to deal with. The NBA got underway last night as well. The NBA Finals. Toronto and Golden State. The Raptors win the opening game 118-109. They were at home in Toronto. They take an early lead over Golden State. I didn't score. OG Anunoby's still not available. They're still hopeful. "32 points from, how do you even say his name? Siakam or Sikkim?
Pascal Siakam.
Siakam. Pascal. He also led with 8 rebounds. He had 5 assists. That offset the 34 points by Seth Curry. 10 rebounds by Mr. Green. And 10 assists. Ooh, how about a triple-double? 10 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds. Draymond Green coming with it.
He also gave up 32 points to Pascal Siakam. Yeah, Tim texted in something that I posted yesterday. John Calipari's son entered the trade portal, transfer portal, whatever you want to call it. His experience in Kentucky, I guess, has expired. They don't know what to do. They're not used to players being there longer than a year or two. So they were like, "Oh, you're still here? You may go." Who in the flip is going to pick him up? Who in the Lord who in good gosh is going to pick him up? Bobby Sheridan. If you're ever betting, better pay attention. He says game 1 win is planned, which is about right. It was at home. What was to be expected?
Tim thinks that Calipari ends up at Eastern Kentucky. Well, that makes sense. It's close by to Lexington, down there in Richmond. And it's several layers below of what he's playing at. Hey, we've got plenty to get to on the program today. Todd Leary will join us. Indiana Sports Writer Hall of Fame member Andy Graham will join us as well. We've got baseball coming up today, lots to talk about. We'll hear from Archie and the boys still. We've got plenty more to hear from those guys. Stay tuned. We've got plenty more here coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat. Back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
So be mine. 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 Hey, so be my baby. 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 Be my
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Cole.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always here at Indiana Sports Beat. Joined now by a good friend Kevin Brockway from CNH Papers, IU beat writer. Kevin, how's it going, brother?
Good morning. A pretty eventful trip down to Huber's Winery yesterday for sure.
Yeah, you got to experience that for your first time. A pretty big crowd. Were you surprised by the size of the crowd? How did that set in?
Yeah, alumni event. Obviously, people are fired up to see Archie Miller and Tom Allen and other coaches there. And I really thought that Archie did a pretty good job addressing the crowd. He was pretty candid and, talked about the fact that nobody was angrier about how last season unfolded than himself. And, all in all, it was still a season where they made the postseason. They made the NIT 19 and 16, but that just shows you that he obviously realizes that a lot more work needs to be done.
Yeah, he talked about a lot of things. The addition of Jerome Hunter. I mean, the addition of Trace Jackson Davis and Joey Brunk, and those guys playing together, and talking about having Big Ten size for the first time.
Yeah, and I think that that was an interesting point in terms of the fact that maybe Juwan Morgan suggesting that he was maybe a little undersized at the center spot. Although you're talking about a guy who really kind of made up for it with his effort throughout his career at IU. But when you've got a guy like Brunk that's 6'11", you've got Trace Jackson Davis at 6'9", Deron Davis at 6'10", you got a little beef in there. And I think he thinks pretty highly of Brunk too, not for just what he can give him on the court, but off the court too, his personality, a guy who, maybe has some leadership qualities in his 3 years at Butler and his ability to compete there and compete against the Big East and come in here and maybe be a guy that can score a little in the post, rebound a little, and give you, some intangibles off the court.
Yeah, one of the things that he talked about, and it's kind of ironic now with the way college basketball has gone, but talked about getting older and how they need to get older, which we all know that is the case, but that they're actually getting younger because they're adding more new faces to the event, with the exception of Joey Brunk, who does bring them some experience with 2 years of collegiate eligibility already exhausted under his belt. But getting older and this age of one and dones and everybody trying to get to the NBA, it's a kind of a signaled switch in college basketball to getting back to how it was, 10, 15 years ago.
And some teams have developed that culture. I think the key really is just having that core group of guys. Now, you take a look at Virginia, which won the national championship last year, and listen, they had to go through their share of heartbreak, losing to one as a 16 seed the year before. But you take a look at Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, and DeAndre Hunter, three guys who worked together for 3 years. And DeAndre Hunter, I think he had a redshirt year, but with an injury. But for the most part, you're talking about three guys that, were the core of that team, core producers of that team, and they had that cohesiveness and playing together from the beginning. And I think that's the best way to build it, is to have a group of guys that come in together and that build that chemistry. Because as we know, basketball, above all else, you can have some great individual talents, but it's still a team game. And when you have that, you have a group of guys that have played together for a while, that can really counter, individual talent.
Yeah, that goes right into talking about chemistry, team chemistry. It's something that came up last night, but it's something that is obviously on the minds of everybody, because last year's team seemed to have one of the things they did not have besides shooting was team chemistry. It just wasn't there. and it was painfully obvious. And it's something that any successful team in any sport has to have. You can't play without it. And I think that is something uber important for that team going forward. And I think that they seemed, and not because of any addition or loss of a particular player, it just is what it is. But they just weren't very cohesive as a team last year. And I think that that's something that's going to be in the forefront of Archie's mind.
Yeah, ball movement, player movement, that all plays into it. And I think feelings of, belonging, of being invested, of being part of something. And I think that does come with time. And it comes a little bit with success, too. It's a little bit of a chicken and egg argument because I think that, your locker room is better when you're winning, right? So you've got to kind of, and they, this Indiana team last year had that early momentum in the non-conference schedule, and it seemed to really spiral in mid-January into early February before they regroup somewhat at the end of the season. But I think, it has to do a lot with, having the right pieces and having guys that are willing to work together and sacrifice for one another. And that's not always easy in today's age of college basketball, where you have guys that are looking to get to the NBA.
Yeah, and you talk about he was candid. Coach Archie Miller was candid last night, as was Don Fisher in introducing everybody. I mean, he didn't cut anybody any slack. He was kind of funny. But Archie, the one thing that he did talk about that I kind of chuckled over, though, was having roster flexibility when asked about having 2 open scholarships, and talked about how having not really had that since they'd been there. Well, the only reason they have quote unquote roster flexibility is because they didn't land anybody that they were going after in this class, other than the ones that they already had in Armand Franklin and Trace Jackson Davis. The many of the other 19 offers they made, none of them came through. So that's why there's roster flexibility.
Yeah, 11 guys isn't enough. It'll be interesting. I think we've discussed this before, but I think it maybe hurts you more in practice in terms of having quality bodies, especially if guys go down and get hurt. And, we know that, Indiana had a share of injuries last year as well. So this is a team this season, going into the season, that really can't afford to have any key guys go down because you're thin already from a roster standpoint.
And that plays right into something that Tim texted in about Jerome Hunter. He was asked about Jerome Hunter last night, and not really a lot was said, to be honest with you. And so he's a big question mark, and there's nothing to indicate that I'm not saying he's not going to be back, but there's nothing to indicate that he's going to be back. So that's not something that you can count on, although that is a very big piece that they're missing. He was the second biggest recruit last year behind Romeo Langford. Didn't get to see him last year, and he's a guy that offers Indiana some flexibility at that wing spot. He can shoot. He can move with the ball. He just has a lot of upside. But to not have that's got to hurt, because you lose Romeo and your top recruit, and you basically have lost your second top recruit from last year as well. Now with Jerome Hunter not having been able to play up to this point.
Yeah, and he said he was cleared for physical activity somewhat, but he was a little vague in terms of what he was actually able to do, maybe a little bit of, running and so forth. But it sounds like it's going to be a long process.
Yeah, and there's no answers. And I don't think it's because they're trying to be that vague. I don't know that they just don't have any answers. They just don't know. I mean, Archie talked about hopefully after maybe June or July, they can get to a point where they can have an idea of what they're dealing with. But it's just a sad situation for him. It's not really an injury, to be honest with you. It's a condition. It's a leg condition that he has. So hopefully he can get past that. But man, that I know Archie's sitting there thinking, man, it would be really nice if I had this dude to play, and it would be, because he brings a different dynamic than anybody else he has on the team right now. I think he's more of a controlled type of Troy Williams in a way. I'm not sure.
And if you have that wing player, I think that's kind of the key, is having a guy on the wing that can. That's capable of, with a little bit more size, because you've got the big guys up front. But if you have that guy, that kind of 6'7" wiry guy, that can really help.
Some of the other things we talked about last night, and we'd already seen, but Indiana will not be participating in the Gavitt games next year, the cross games that go on with the Big East, which I'm sure they're fine with. No big names for them really to play there anyway. Their ACC opponent has yet to be named. They hopefully that comes out sometime in the near future. Of course, playing UConn in the Jimmy V Classic in Madison Square Garden will be a cool event. And then Arkansas comes to town and return for that game that they lost on the road last year down in Fayetteville.
Yeah, it should be a good schedule. And then you got obviously Notre Dame in the Crossroads Classic, so you've got a decent non-conference schedule, and where you can, I think, a good balance of you've got some good teams in there, but you've probably got some beatable teams too. So that maybe will give this team confidence early in the season.
Yeah, and getting a win against some teams like that will give them great confidence. And I think this is something this team is going to need. But I don't think this team's going to be lacking that as much. I see a team that's going to be a little bit more cohesive than what you saw last year. But I see a team that's going to be a lot more vocal. I think the Joey Brunk, he's not going to be afraid to express his opinion. He's the new guy on the block, but it doesn't matter. He's going to be a junior as far as years go. So he's not going to be afraid to do that. Devontae Green, definitely not going to be afraid. I think that you're going to see Rob Finney grow into his role at the point and becoming more of a leader. But Trace Jackson Davis, even though he's a freshman, from when I've been around him and I've watched him play and I've seen him play, he's confident in his game, not in a cocky way, but he's just confident. He feels like that he knows what he's doing. Not that he knows everything, but that he's confident in what he's doing and that he's not afraid to express that to his teammates around him. I think this team needs that. Not just one leader, but they all have to stand up and be a part of that, because you saw so little of that last year. To none, really.
Well, Trace Jackson Davis, we know he's a talent. McDonald's All-Americans. He's a McDonald's All-American for a reason. I thought it was interesting too that Archie mentioned that Finney could take on an expanded offensive role next year. Now, whether that means more scoring, more assists, more distributing, I think he's looking for Finney to be a guy that gives them a little more production next year. So it'll be interesting to see, how that unfolds. And when you give point guards freedom to shoot and create, they can be really a big time weapon if you have a point guard that can give you some offense and some scoring as well.
Joker thinks that the ACC Big Challenge will be either Duke or North Carolina, which has been the case for quite a while. Those are TV matchups, man. And if you don't think, for those that don't think Indiana's still a big brand name, that's why when that comes around, that's why the ESPN wants to see Indiana playing Duke or Indiana playing North Carolina for that reason. It's still, no matter what, Indiana is Indiana. So, but we'll see how that turns out. And hopefully that'll be a home game for Indiana. And what a boost that could be, not just to confidence, but to everything, to your RPI, which they don't really have that anymore, but to all that stuff at season's end, having a big-time ACC opponent come into Assembly Hall, if they can get a win there, that would be big for them.
Yeah, it's the net ratings now, right? But no, it would be a boost regardless, strength of schedule wise. And you get North Carolina, you get Duke coming to town. I think it would be a big time atmosphere as well. It'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, definitely about the eyeballs on the TV sets, and that tells you about the passion for this team and what this fan base brings to the table. In terms of, national respect and national viewership.
Starting tomorrow, 2:00, Indiana hits the baseball diamond down at Jim Patterson Field in Louisville. The NCAA tournament getting underway. Indiana participating for the sixth time in the last 7 years. Down there also, of course, right across the river is Jeffersonville, home of Gabe Bierman, who recently lost his father. Dougie Bierman, who I knew from Floyd Central High School down there. His father was a pitcher. You wrote a great piece in the CNHI papers that if you haven't read it, you need to find it, folks. Just look it up either from CNHI papers if you're not in one of those markets, Jeffersonville, New Albany, Anderson. They're all over the state, but you can find it under Kevin Brockway's byline. But that was a great piece on Gabe Bierman.
Yeah, and he really just opened up about what his father meant to him. And listen, Gabe has had, quite a freshman year. He's Big Ten Freshman of the Week one week. And obviously a very, you think about it 2 days after his father passes away, and he just saw him earlier in the week in the Louisville game, on May 14th, May 16th, he passes away. And then, 2 days later, he's on the mound for that final 3 innings against Rutgers. And so it was like an out-of-body experience, being out there, throwing the final pitch and thinking about his dad. And, I'm sure he'll have a really heavy heart, especially pitching, across the river from his hometown in Louisville. But he's going to have plenty of family support, and he feels like, that's what he really needs at this point. All his siblings will be there. His mom will be there. He'll have a lot of friends from Jeffersonville in town. And he's a pitcher who's got a really bright future as well.
Absolutely. Quite a few of those on that Indiana baseball team. Grant Richardson, another player that was named Freshman of the Year this year for a few times by the Big Ten. So they've got a lot of talent coming up. And looking forward to the series, the playoffs this weekend. Of course, it will most likely involve a game or possibly 2 with Louisville, one of the top-ranked teams in the country. A rematch from a game played earlier this season on a Tuesday in Bloomington at Bart Kaufman Field. Indiana would lose that game in extra innings, but that was after spotting Louisville to a 6-0 lead, and they would come back and tie that late in the game, and then it would go on to extra innings and go, I think it went 11 innings before Louisville was able to pull that win out. But that should be a great matchup between those two squads.
Yeah, Jeff Mercer said earlier this week, got to bounce back from that performance in the Big Ten tournament where they were kind of 2 in barbecue out there. So, they had 5 errors in the 2 games, have to clean some things up defensively, obviously, in the pitching. You'll probably see Paulie Milto in one of those first 2 games, but got to get by Illinois State first and then worry about that possible matchup with Louisville there at beautiful Jim Patterson Field.
Yep, that'll be tomorrow at 2:00. We'll be down there giving you complete coverage of that. So tune into that. Kevin, thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it as always. Look forward to it, doing it again soon.
All right, thank you.
It's Kevin Brockway joining us. Look forward to talking to Kevin. The baseball game today at 2:00 as Indiana is down in Louisville. Indiana Sports Beat will be there with complete coverage as they begin tournament play. Hopefully they can escape that region and get out of it. It'll be a tough matchup like we've talked about. Andy Southrank, Andrew, named All-American for Indiana. The first pitcher to be named All-American pitcher since 2014. Congratulations to him. A lot of positive things going on for that Indiana baseball program. Hopefully they can continue and have a better go of it than they did out in Omaha for the Big Ten tournament. Kind of sleptwalk through that thing. But they've had a tendency to bounce back from outings like that as they have been down in Louisville with their candy striped shorts getting ready. And that game, like I said, is at 2:00 down at Jim Patterson Field. Jim Patterson Stadium in Louisville. It's kind of similar to Bart Kaufman. So hopefully Indiana has a lot of similar results as they have had at Bart Kaufman all season, where they won every series they played. So a good season for Indiana baseball. Andy Southrank, Big Ten Coach of the Year. Jeff Mercer. I think Paulie Milto will probably be going today. I think that's what I saw. We'll certainly find out. See what Indiana can do as they get started in the NCAA tournament. On the program today, Todd Leary will join us. We'll also hear from Andy Graham, Indiana Sports Writer Hall of Fame member. We'll talk a little bit of baseball and some other things as well. Make sure you hit us up on the text line like the guys have been doing all morning. Did I see that Indiana opens the season against Ball State at Lucas Oil Stadium this year? ? Wonder what the players think about that playing at one of the top NFL stadiums. Yes, that is true. They are opening the football season against Ball State at Lucas Oil Stadium. Um, I think it's something the players find cool for a minute, but it doesn't last very long. I mean, once you get started and working out and practicing, it's just like being on the road someplace. I mean, it's no different than being at Ohio State or at Michigan or at Lincoln, Nebraska. Those are very iconic places to play football. But anytime you go to a whether it's a major league stadium or NFL stadium or NBA arena, there's always a slightly different feel to it. But Lucas Oil is so cavernous, big, and it's inside, so that's unusual for them. But I'm sure they enjoy it and get a kick out of it. But overall, like I said, once that ball is kicked off, they forget about it. But that'll be a fun way to kick off the season. As long as they win, that is. It won't be too fun if you don't get a win down. Need to get a win knocked down in that column. Excuse me. Hey, make sure you hit up the Sheridan Report if you're a bettor. He's following everything, especially the NBA Finals right now. Golden State down one game. They don't play again until Sunday. Sunday. Well, they need 5 days rest in between games, man. You talk about maybe they're stretching this out for OG Anunoby. He was taking some shots before the game. Knocking them down, too. But he was 10 days out before the final started. Well, man, he'll make it back by the third game if they're taking a week apart in between games. Tell me that's not for TV. What in the world do you need that long between games for? That's a long time, 3 days. I mean, it's only 3 days, but that's still. And that, I mean, generally it's usually 2 at the max, even with a travel day. But I guess they like to stretch this out. And we get those prime time nights. I'm not sure everybody's paying attention. But that would be cool for OG Anunoby, former Hoosier, who can make it back, play in the NBA Finals. How ready will he be, though? How out of game shape is he? My gosh, he's been sidelined for so long, especially with an operation, a little surgery, a little emergency appendectomy. I'm sure he's been working hard to get back. How effective can he be from a defensive standpoint? One of his strengths? Are you risking injury? It is the finals, man. So he's going to be doing whatever he can to get back, to help his team and to play in the finals. You follow him, Jake. What do you think?
It wouldn't surprise me if they just shut OG down for the rest of them, to be honest. I mean, because he's not in game shape now. The Warriors brought back Boogie Cousins last night, and he was terrible just because he is not used to that speed. I mean, it's a completely different game in the playoffs.
Yeah, but is it something they can get up to speed to kind of quick? I mean, with him taking this much time between games, literally.
No, probably not, because, I mean, they have a good rotation right now, and, I mean, everything's working. So, I mean, there's no reason to really add in another piece. I mean, all you're going to do is that just takes minutes away from Kawhi and Siakam, and both of those guys are killing it right now. So both of them will probably play 35, 40 minutes a game.
Yeah, they obviously made it there without him. Of course, that's probably what he's thinking too. They made it here without me. Don't leave me behind.
I mean, he's fine. I mean, he's still on his rookie contract. I mean, it does. I was thinking about this. It might make him a little bit more expendable as far as in the trade market if they decide to go that route, but I seriously doubt they do. I mean, I think it's more so just timing, more so than anything.
Well, we'll find out. We've got another hour coming to you of Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Todd Leary will join us. We'll also talk to Andy Graham, Indiana Hall of Fame, Sports Writer Hall of Fame member. Plenty to talk about. Some baseball coming up, basketball, recruiting visits. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat. Back with more right after this.
Well, every quart I get, you know, blackjack takes it away from me.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard. Indiana Sports People. Jim Coyle is here with you as always. Jake's at the wheel, keeping us on track. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your day's off to a good start. Hope you have a great week. Ready for the weekend. If not, let's get you headed in that direction. Todd Leary will join us on the program today. As always, a good friend of the show. We'll also talk with Indiana Sports Writing Hall of Fame member Andy Graham as well. Indiana is set to start the NCAA baseball tournament today in Louisville at 2 o'clock. Jim Patterson Stadium in Louisville. Talk about that a little bit. Andy Saalfrank recently just named All-American. He's a pitcher for the Hoosiers. First pitcher All-American since 2014. So a lot of good things going on for the baseball program. Jeff Mercer named the Coach of the Year in the Big Ten this year. So a lot of positive things for that program as they win the Big Ten title this year and are now set to play in the NCAA tournament for the sixth time in 7 seasons. A lot of basketball visits going on in Bloomington. Troy Galloway, Anthony Leal, Zach Loveday. A lot of biz going on. A lot of those guys are ready to get the process moving. Tim texted in that Juwan Morgan has workouts today with the Phoenix Suns, then the Bulls and the Pacers next week, as he is trying to extend his playing career. Not expected to see him get drafted, to be honest with you. I think that Juwan ends up overseas someplace, but you never know. You never know. Where will Romeo end up? There's still a possibility that he ends up with the Pacers if he's still available at that time. Baseball team, like I said, down in Louisville today. Gabe Bierman is from that area, from Jeffersonville. His father, Doug Bierman, passed away not too long ago. He's been dealing with that. What a grown-up thing to have to do, and to do it in such a public manner. He'll have a lot of support down there. As like I said, he went to Jeffersonville High School, right across the river from Louisville. His father went to Floyd Central, which is also down there in the southern Indiana, Louisville area. So a lot of support for him and that Indiana baseball team as they begin NCAA tournament play in Louisville. Jerome Hunter is a big question mark. You know, Archie was at Huber's a couple of nights ago. Do you have that, Jake, by chance, about him talking about Jerome Hunter? He was asked about, or he's just talking about what he had coming back next year, because he's got 2 open scholarships, and he put a coaching spin on it, basically, and talking about how that it gives them roster flexibility, that having a full complement of scholarship players doesn't always work at this level, which is kind of funny, because I assure you that he would have been quite fine having 4 scholarship commitments coming into the season had any of the 19 guys they offered scholarship offers to accepted that turned them down, or 20, however many it was. But they're certainly going to have roster flexibility, quote unquote, as they have 2 open spots
And with Jerome Hunter still injured, they're only going to have 10 scholarship players. Excuse me. If anything was like last year, that could pose a problem from an injury standpoint. It was an all hands on deck situation last year when the injuries started flying. Hopefully that does not happen to them this year. But that would pose a critical problem if it did. I mean, let's be honest with you. Roster flexibility is just a cute term being thrown out because you didn't get the guys that you wanted. So I'm not exactly sure what roster flexibility means when you don't get the guys you want. Yeah, you just don't take anybody. I think they're just kind of behind in the situation where they should have been. They should have already been geared towards getting these key players, these foundation-type players. I'm not saying that you don't try to hit the home run. Of course you do. But it was kind of obvious that Indiana was not in the question for many of these players. They were there, but not really. So a lot of effort was placed there. A lot of strikeouts. Kind of put them behind going into next season, if you want to be honest, truthful about it. In my opinion, at least. They're going to be behind in bodies. They're going to be behind in development. But who's someone that you'd like to see them get that they weren't going after? That's the truth. I mean, that's the question. They were going after a lot of big names, none of which that they got. As a matter of fact, they didn't land a recruit from 60 miles any further away than 60 miles from campus. But you have to go for those guys if that's what you feel your program needs. And now with the inability to land the big-time recruits, does that change your roster philosophy? Not by choice. And it seems to be the case right now as the focus has shifted to the 2020 class. A lot of in-state kids. A lot of kids that are closer to the program. That will require player development. So that's something that is going to have to be in place for that program to be successful. What do you think? Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Friday. The rain has finally stopped, temporarily at least. Wow, what a wet spring this has been, man. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The NBA Finals have gotten underway. Toronto wins the first game over Golden State. They don't play again until Sunday. OG Anunoby, the former Hoosier, still not back from that emergency appendectomy. He was taking some shots before the game, though, in warm-ups, in street clothes, knocking him down. But talked to Jake a little bit earlier, and it's going to be tough, man. He's been out for an extended period now. He's out of game shape, and like Jake mentioned, they've got a flow. They've got a rotation right now that has worked well enough to get them to the NBA Finals. Do they want to disrupt that? Is it worth it? I mean, you're also risking potential injury. Not necessarily injury as much as just hurting what you just got put back together. Of course, if he's ready, he'll play, and if he can get ready, he'll play, and if it's beneficial to the team, I'm sure that we'll see him. They don't play again until Sunday. Anyway, but we'll follow that. We'll follow that for sure. Hey, coming up on the program, Indiana sports writer Hall of Fame member Andy Graham. We'll talk about a little bit of Indiana baseball, some recruiting as well. Todd Leary's on the show today as well. Stay tuned. We got a lot more coming back from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
What you got to say?
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle with you as always, joined by our good friend Andy Graham, Indiana Sports Writer Hall of Fame member. You know, we talk a lot of baseball with Andy, and we're going to do that today because it's very timely. But you also got to sit down with Coach Allen not too long ago with Matt Weaver from Peegs, Andy, and Coach was on our show last week as well. But always an interesting topic to sit down with Coach Allen.
Oh, yeah, it's always a pleasure and a privilege to do that. And we talked with him for over an hour, and there was a lot of notes to transcribe, but very interesting notes. And it's there's undeniably, I think, a sense of optimism around the program now, even in the wake of 2 5-7 seasons, which Coach Allen acknowledged were disappointing in many aspects. But there were signs of potential there too. And I think one of the signs of potential that's overt now, I think, in front of everybody is the level of recruiting success he and the staff have been able to achieve in the last couple of 3 years. The 2019 class, I think it's pretty well documented now, is the best class on paper that Indiana has signed since internet rating services arose around the turn of the century. So it's been a while that since we've seen a recruiting class like this, and it's higher rated than the 2018 class. But you and I both know that the 2018 class proved to be a very, just sort of impressive class because so many of those kids played as true freshmen last fall and played well. And there was obviously an influx of speed and talent in that class, and I think we're going to see more of the same from this current class, and they're already off to a pretty good start for the 2020 class too. So I think people are excited about that, and I hope and think that people understand that going with that excitement is going to take more patience because these are still very young players. The 2019 class might be the best that Indiana signed, but most of those kids aren't even on campus yet. So people need to understand it's going to take a little bit of time for this to show up in a more meaningful way on the field, but I think it's coming.
I agree wholeheartedly. And when I started off the conversation with Coach Allen, I'd mentioned that when he was hired, a lot of people had great reservations that a coach with no collegiate experience could start out at the Big Ten level. And I was one of those people, and I acknowledge that. But I also said that, man, I'm nothing but impressed with what is going on. I mean, on the heels of 2 5-7 seasons, you land the 2 best recruiting classes ever. That's only going to present itself on the field at some point. I'm pretty certain right now. And I think that Coach Allen is going about this the right way. He is literally, and I don't know if I'm using that word right correctly there, but building from the ground up a foundation from the recruiting success and having the depth to be able to do the things they need to do. And he's learned some things along the way as obviously as well, but he seems to truly be building a foundation.
Yeah, I agree. And I think people understand that it's a foundation for long-term sustained success. That's the key. There aren't any quick fixes or short-term mechanisms in play. These are all long-term kind of building blocks that are being put into place. That includes facilities. I mean, we're talking to him, and as we spoke, the new locker room that's being created under the West Stands is well underway and should come to fruition before kickoff this season. And they spent over $100 million on Memorial Stadium just in the last decade. The place cost, I was looking at the equivalent $1960 for when the building was finished, when Memorial Stadium was finished. In today's dollars, it would have been $38 million. So they've invested over $100 million in the last decade, and we've seen both ends enclosed. We've seen the quality of a lot of those facilities. So I think people are kind of aware of that, but there's investment beyond that too. Coach mentioned to us how important it was, for example, to retain the assistants that they have. They're spending over $4 million a year now just on assistant salaries for football. He talked about Coach Ballou and Coach Ray. Dave Ballou, the strength and conditioning coach, and Dr. Matt Ray is kind of the speed specialist. These are cutting-edge, state-of-the-art kind of guys. Worked out at IMG Academy down in Florida. Worked at Notre Dame. The NFL people came calling, wanting to hire these guys away. And Ballou and Ray, when they were hired, Dave Ballou was making $215,000, and Matt Ray was making $150,000. Well, those respective salaries are now $400,000 and $375,000 combined. So they've gone just in 2 years from $365,000 combined to $775,000 combined. So Indiana can keep them, and they're tied into Tom Allen's contract. So it isn't just the concrete things that people can see literally rising around them. There is investment within the program or to buttress the program that we can also see when we see investments like that made. And so I think Indiana's serious about investing in football. You don't always understand that or don't always get that message when you surf the internet fan boards. But I think Indiana's serious in investing in football. And I think, when you look at Tom Allen, you mentioned Tom Allen's growth into the job as well. Obviously, he was a guy who, when he came to Indiana, already had a reputation for being able to turn around defenses quickly as a defensive coordinator, and he showed that here too. I mean, we all saw that turnaround in front of our eyes, and that was a very profound change that we saw happen. And then, as you say, he was elevated to a head coach, had not been a head coach at this level before. And going into this offseason, I thought, we need to see about 4 things here. Indiana needs to accomplish 4 things in this offseason. It needs to have Tom divest himself of the defensive coordinator role so he can focus more on being a head coach. With Mike DeBoer retiring, he's going to have to find an offensive coordinator that fits the mix well. He's going to have to find a quarterback for this recruiting class, and he's going to have to bring another substantial recruiting class in to build upon the one that he was able to accrue last year. And he went 4 for 4 in that regard, and that's impressive.
Absolutely.
I think that's people are excited when they see that kind of thing transpiring.
Absolutely. And I think they'll be more excited this fall when they see the product on the field. I think that they've got, because of that rule that allows you to play up to 4 games without burning a redshirt year, a lot of valuable experience gained by guys that normally would not have had that experience. And a team like Indiana, who didn't have the depth that some bigger Big Ten teams did, it's a great help for them to get guys on the playing field and get them a little deeper.
Completely agree. I think that NCAA rule change, it benefits kids, number one, which is great. But it also, I think, benefits programs such as Indiana more so than the established powers, because it allows Indiana to build depth in a way that's meaningful. A guy like Michael Penix, the redshirt freshman quarterback, will have 4 years of eligibility when he enters this fall, for example, but he's already played in 3 or 4 games because of that rule. He's already gotten a taste of it. And I think that's really crucial. And I think we see a lot of kids in that, and that allows Indiana to put some of its more talented freshmen on the field and retain that extra year of eligibility. And once again, I don't think that's going to matter as much at Ohio State, but it matters at a place like IU.
Absolutely. And then a program that's on the rise, or not already on the rise and has been for quite some time, going to the NCAA tournament for the 6th time in 7 years, or actually, was it the 7th and 8th now? I think 6 out of 7. But yeah, I mean, it's impressive what baseball's done. And
just, to see Jeff Mercer sustain it has been impressive, because once again, normally when there's a coaching transition, inevitably there are going to be, pitfalls and hurdles. Even the most well-meaning players and even the most dedicated and well-meaning coaches, when it's a real sea change in regard to philosophy and approach to play like this was, there are going to be hiccups. I mean, inevitably. Players are going to have to try to absorb. These are guys, think about this. Indiana brought back a successful veteran team. These guys won 40 games last year. They took Texas to a one-run game in the title game of the Austin Regional last year. So they had experienced a lot of success. And here comes a 33-year-old coach, a new guy who basically wants to revamp their approach to play pretty completely. And those guys had to accept that. I mean, a lot of guys who are upperclassmen had to change their approach to things, and they had to be accepting of that. And inevitably, that's going to cause some issues behind the scenes. And these guys worked through it. It was a 7-8 start. And in the wake of that 7-8 start, they won 8 straight games, and then they proceeded to win 9 out of 10 series down the stretch of the season, which is the kind of consistency that can create an outright Big Ten title, which is what happened. And it was really impressive, I thought, on the part of all.
I mean, to come in and not miss a beat and to do something they hadn't done since 2014, winning that Big Ten title. Big deal for Coach Mercer. Obviously, they had a hiccup at the Big Ten tournament, but that is usually, for silver lining it, that has served them well. Usually they bounce back very well from situations where they've done that, and that couldn't be any more timely as they head into the NCAA tournament down in Louisville.
I agree. We'll see what happens, but I like it, actually. I mean, obviously they wanted to play well. They wanted to go win the Big Ten tournament title. That's great. But if you're going to exit, you might as well exit early, to be perfectly honest with you. And so you can you get all of your arms ready, you get all of your pitchers ready. And this is a confident team, but it's going to be a team with a chip on its shoulder now, too. Where they want to go out and prove something that, what happened out in Omaha wasn't really them. I mean, I think they only hit 159 as a team in those 2 games. So that's kind of a bad taste in their mouths. And we've seen how this team reacts when, things, went awry. Every time they've bounced back, they've been resilient. So even though it's frustrating to them and to the coaches that they've been inconsistent at times, they've always been resilient too. They've always come back to play well, and I think that I'm hopeful that that's what we'll see. That's what we'll see this weekend. They got a whole week to prepare, and I think they'll be really focused in and really ready to go. I think it won't be easy. Looking at Illinois State, the team that Indiana plays at 2 p.m. on Friday down at Louisville. They're the Missouri Valley champions, and they've got a big 6'6" left-hander who's their top pitcher, a guy named Brett Hedrick, who is the kind of guy that Indiana struggled with in the past. Indiana's, half of Indiana's lineup is left-handed bats, basically. A lot of key players are lefties, and they're going to be going against a lefty who isn't an overpowering guy, but he's got a big assortment of pitches. He can throw a lot of different kind of pitches. And so it's kind of good, I think, that Indiana has a full week to kind of prepare itself for that, rather than just trying to do it on the fly. But it's, Illinois State's out of the Missouri Valley, and you know as well as I do, Jim, that's a really good baseball conference. They've got a lot I don't know how many teams they got in the tournament this year, but I think it's like 3 or 4. Indiana State's out of that league, and they're number 2 seed, just like IU is. Dallas Baptist is out of that league now. There are a lot of good teams in that league. So we're playing the Missouri Valley Conference champs, and they hit 295 as a team. They've got 3 MVC first-round guys in their lineup, a second team guy in their lineup. They got 5 guys hitting over 300. Indiana's only got 1. So they're a legitimate opponent, and it's gonna be interesting to see. But I think if Indiana wins Friday, I think Indiana's got a chance to win the whole thing. I don't know about you, but Louisville's great. They're 43-15. They're ranked number 8 in the country. They're playing at home on paper, and in fact, they're going to be the favorites to win the regional. But I think Indiana has a chance, if it wins Friday, to win the whole shebang.
I agree. Indiana's a team that they've got to get on a roll with the bats, but playing back in a stadium like Jim Patterson Stadium down in Louisville is more of a collegiate type stadium, closer, not too far off from Bart Kaufman. Out there at TD Ameritrade Park, that thing was so expansive and had like a major league feel. It seemed to take away a little bit from the college game, but Indiana has shown they can play with Louisville. They went to extra innings when they played back in late in the season in a midweek game. So and they've had a great overall run against Louisville. So they can play with anybody.
I think Indiana's won 7 of the last 10 in the series or something like that. Yeah, I agree. And that game was interesting. I mean, Louisville got out to a 6-0 lead, and then Indiana battled back, and I think Louisville ended up winning 8-7 and 12, I think it was. But no, I mean, look, I mean, here's the thing. You know, Indiana has won a lot of series this year because its starting pitching and its bullpen is pretty solid. The bats have been kind of feast or famine. But Indiana's won a lot of series like 2-1 because the starting pitching is pretty solid. And Paulie Melto and Tanner Gordon and then Andrew Saalfrank, who was the Big Ten pitcher of the year going on Sunday usually. Indiana won a lot of series on Sunday, 2-1. And I think that's kind of what I'm saying going into the regional, is that if Paulie, let's say they start Melto on Friday. Now, the last time we saw Paulie in a regional was down in Texas against Texas Southern. Do you remember what he did that night?
I don't remember the result, but I remember Indiana having a good game.
It was a complete game shutout with 10 strikeouts against a lesser opponent. That's the last time Paulie Melto threw in an NCAA game. He's a bulldog. I think, let's say you start Paulie on Friday. Let's say he manages to get a win, and you have Gordon and Saalfrank ready then for the next 2 games. You have the ability with a deep bullpen to lift either one of those starters early and make it a bullpen game and be pretty strong. To bring in guys like Tommy Summer and other people like that to play, guys who have started. Gabe Bierman, the freshman from Jeffersonville. You bring in guys like that. So here's what I think. I think if Indiana wins Friday, they'll have a legit chance. Because Louisville almost certainly will probably beat Illinois, Chicago in the other first-round game. But I think if Indiana wins Friday, Indiana's got a real shot chance to knock off Louisville on Saturday. And if they do that, it's going to be really hard for Louisville to beat them 2 games in a row. And conversely, if Indiana wins Friday but Louisville wins Saturday, it'll be really tough for Indiana to beat Louisville 2 games in a row. So I think that's kind of how I see it. I think Indiana has to win Friday. Then that first game Saturday, pitting in the winner's bracket, is going to probably decide who wins the regional. And I think Indiana's got a real shot.
I couldn't agree more. Indiana Sports Writer Hall of Fame Andy Graham, thank you so much, brother. We look forward to it. Look forward to the results. See what Indiana can get done.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I do too, and looking forward to seeing you down there.
As well. We'll be back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
But I know I've got one thing I got to do. I ran along. Now the time is now. Sing my song.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you here as always, Indiana Sports Beat, and now joined by our good friend Todd Leary. Todd, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm good. How are you this morning?
Great. How's your first full week back to being a Hoosier?
Man, it feels good being back in the home state, so I'm excited about it. And we had a good week here in Evansville, so everything, week one went down perfectly.
Well, the sun's shining. It's not raining today, so you must have brought something to the party.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. Sunshine just follows me around. You know that.
That's why they call you Mr. Sunshine.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I got a question into the show from Bobby. He had two questions, actually. One was going back to the game after the Duke loss at the Final Four 92. The first conversation that you had with Coach Knight, how did it go? What did he say? And was that potential tying shot supposed to go to you?
Boy, he's digging deep into the archives early in the morning. But
I'm telling you, man.
You know, that I only played in that last minute of that game, probably mostly because we needed points, we needed shooting right away, and we had guys that had fouled out. Obviously, a lot of Indiana fans remember that. But after the game, one-on-one conversation, Coach Knight just said, "Hey, let's build on that for next year. We have big plans for you. You'll be a big part of what we have going on for the next couple of years." And so that was just kind of I don't know that there was a ton of conversation about actually what happened on the floor. It was just kind of what he does at the end of every year, and he kind of talks to each player individually about what they expect out of them for the summer and the following year. So that part of it was fairly customary. He doesn't dwell too much on what has happened in the past when you can't change it. Obviously, if we had won the game, there might have been some different conversation, but we didn't. So, and then as far as the final shot, none of the 3 shots prior to that were scheduled to go to me either. It just, if you saw when they touched my hand, they went up pretty quickly. So they didn't let me touch the last one because they know that thing was going up as fast as I could get it.
Trigger finger, baby. Quick trigger
No
finger.
doubt.
You know what? And it's funny. His other question is something that I was thinking about. It may have been yesterday. I think I don't know why it popped into my head, but it's kind of fortuitous. Norm Ellenberger. What were your thoughts on Norm Ellenberger? Man, I hadn't heard that name for a while.
Yeah, Norm was kind of like a buddy. He was one of those coaches that when you didn't understand why things were happening and the way things were going down, Norm was a guy you could kind of talk to a little bit, and it wouldn't go straight back to Coach Knight. It wouldn't. You could have a little bit more of a conversation with him rather than him being a true part of the coaching staff, which he definitely was. He was a good guy. He was a player's kind of coach, and I always liked Norm a lot. We had the place where I worked in the summertime. The owner of the company there at Steelbeard Electric, Gary Crum, he was real good buddies with Norm, and they continued their relationship way past when Norm left IU and all that. So I kind of kept up with Norm through my buddy Gary Crum, and it was a situation. Norm was just a good guy. He was one of those guys you needed on the staff, especially a Coach Knight staff, because he was just a guy that I think the players felt like they could talk to a little bit more.
That leads me to a question. How important was that to have with Coach Knight being the figure that he was? How important was it to have a Norm Ellenberger, someone you could talk to and have a little trust with, that it wasn't going to go back straight to Knight?
Yeah, no, it was extremely important, and it was, I think it's something that you're kind of putting your player, from a player's perspective, we understand what they're doing. They're kind of putting their job at risk, because that's not something Coach Knight would have thought was cool or would have thought was an integral part of success and all that. I mean, he would have, I just think he would have looked negatively on that situation, because he wanted to kind of be in control and have his hand on everything that was going on. But I think a lot of programs have those guys. They have the Norm Ellenbergers and the guys that players, I think, feel like they can trust a little bit more. And, Norm was definitely that guy for me. I'm not going to say everyone. It's not like we sat in the locker room and talked about, hey, you can talk to Norm about anything. He just kind of developed into that for me. He was assistant coach first, but he was also 1B. He was a real good person, a sounding board, and a person that would give me pretty good advice.
It's camping season for most sports. Camps coming up all around. Basketball camps. Jordan Hulls has a basketball camp. Back in your day, Coach Knight had his camp. Archie Miller has his camp. What was it like as a player being a part of those camps?
Well, we didn't do that. When Coach Knight had his camps, none of the players worked the camps. So
really?
we never were a part of that. Now, I can tell you, I went to Bob Knight camp as a kid growing up, and that camp sucked. It was the hardest camp I've ever seen in my life. I went to 5-star camp. I went to some of the nationally known blue chip camps and some of those things, and they were easy. There was a lot of games, little drills here and there, but it was a lot of games and a lot of hanging out, stuff like that. Coach Knight's was the opposite. It was drills twice a day, and then you would, get to play like a 15 or 20 minute game at night and things like that. It was boot camp, and it never stopped me from going. I went year after year, but it was not your typical fun basketball camp. It was pure misery.
And having gone through that once, you'd have thought that you'd have had enough sense not to come back a second time, but that's another conversation.
There was one year, Jim, that I went 2 weeks in a row after I had already been for a couple of years and knew how miserable it was. That just tells you what a glutton for punishment I was.
Yeah, but that tells you the type of players that were then and now too, though. To be honest with you, I mean, someone that has that kind of work ethic, that kind of dedication, man, I don't know that they have that today. I don't know if those kids have that in them anymore. that to that level. I mean, you're not the only one, but that's a shining example of exactly what we talk about, the typical Indiana kind of kid that I'm sure that they're out there, but man, they sure have dwindled in numbers.
Yeah, and it's just there's a lot more things to do, I think, now for kids. I mean, back then, when I wasn't, the 2 weeks I didn't spend at Bob Knight Camp, I spent playing basketball at the gym or at the Y or open gyms and things like that. I mean, that's literally all I did. I wasn't, now growing up younger, I obviously played baseball and those things. And then when July came around, it was time for football. And so, I mean, I did those other things, but, basketball was my love and it's what I wanted to do. And I'm talking about it, 30 some years later, like it was a miserable experience, but believe me, I that's what I wanted to do. I mean, I'm the one who asked to go to camp 2 weeks in a row, and I'm the one that when I got home, that's pretty much all I did anyway. So, kids are definitely different now. I mean, I couldn't get my kids to go do that in a million years, not a chance. They'd be there for 2 days and call me and tell me to come and get them. So, it's kids in general, but it's just kind of the way that things are nowadays. I mean, that you don't have to have that kind of thing. There's so many different options, and AAU has taken over so much. I mean, you don't have to be on, one of the top 2 AAU programs in order to play a whole bunch of games every year. Heck, there are so many teams. It's incredible. So kids just have different options and different opportunities now that we didn't have back then.
Coaching is something that I know you've messed with. You've done some of it, involvement in the AAU programs and things like that. But is that something that's ever been a pull for you?
It's something I wanted to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like that's probably one of the, if you ask me career wise, what would I do different? And everybody would answer those questions with things they would do differently. But I would have gotten into coaching right when I got out of school. It's after I finished at IU, I went and played overseas for 2 years. And at that point I was just basketball burnt out. Like I was ready to, settle down and start a family and get a real job. That was my 25-year-old, naive idiot thoughts going through my head at that point. If I could change anything, I would have definitely gotten back into coaching and gotten into, you've got to do so much grunt work for so many years. I mean, you don't just all of a sudden, most guys don't just all of a sudden say, hey, I'm going to be, an assistant coach at Michigan State. It doesn't work that way. You've got to work your way up through being a video coordinator and a manager, all different kinds of avenues you've got to go through in order to get to that coaching level. And I wasn't willing to do it at 25 years old. And once you get to 30, 35, it's too late pretty much at that point for you. So, that's a regret that I have. I wish I had gotten into coaching. I love it. I love working with the kids. I love seeing the teams get better. I think that was one of Coach Knight's big things. He loved watching his teams progress and get better and accomplish things that, maybe they didn't even know that they could accomplish. And that's probably coaching wise, one of the real benefits that comes out of it. And, I miss that. In AAU, I got to experience some of that, but, I'm not sure mentally I was in the right frame of mind coaching AAU wise too. I was that crazy screaming, and anybody that's ever watched me coach, in my first 6 or 7 years of coaching, they'll be like, yeah, that guy had no business coaching, because I was a nut job. But something happened and I kind of woke up a little bit. And so yeah, real long-winded answer to your question is, yeah, I wish I would have gotten into coaching way back when, but I didn't, and that's just the way life takes you.
Well, now you can help out your old buddy Pat Graham down there at Evansville Memorial as he is an assistant down there.
Yeah, I don't think Pat will be calling for my opinion all too often. Pat's done a great job with those guys. I've shown up down there to watch them, or not to watch them, but just to be around when when Pat's boys and some of the guys are out there working out, and they, Pat's a different guy also. I mean, Pat's different than he was at 23 or 24-year-old Pat. And, he's enjoying it. The kids are enjoying it. I think he's having fun with it. And I think their team's had a lot of success based on him being there.
You talk about having two certain iconic coaching molds for him to follow. He played high school ball for Joe Hinton, and then for college for Bob Knight. So he certainly had some good coaching experiences in front of him.
Good and a lot of yelling, so he was used to it, I'm sure. Coach Hinton was. I remember meeting him way back when we were in school, and he was a fiery dude. So that was that. I'm sure Pat never really had the nurturing type of coach outside of maybe in like the 4th or 5th grade. After that, he had the screamers the rest of his career.
Yeah, it was over. Joe Hinton, one of the most competitive people I've ever met in my life. Off the floor, he's like your grandpa. But on the floor, man, it's over. It's blood and guts. It's blood and guts. Did you follow a lot of athletes were multiple sports stars. Did you play baseball in high school?
I did. I played baseball all the way up till my senior year. After I got done with basketball, I just didn't. I had planned on some recruiting visits and things like that, so I wasn't going to be able to play. But I had played all the way up my first 3 years, and I played football my first 2 years of high school, I think. And then I just kind of had to make the decision. My knees were hurting a little bit more, and my ankles were hurting a little bit more, and I just kind of had to make that decision to stop and play basketball and stop playing football. Plus, I weighed like 135 pounds, so it isn't like the football team was really, really disappointed when Todd Leary decided he wasn't going to not go tackle anybody anymore.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of the multi-sport stars anymore, mainly because of the specialization and everybody's focus is on a sport, man. I mean, my daughter plays soccer year round, and I would miss it. Luckily, I was in an era where everybody did everything, but I would miss it if I didn't get to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I loved baseball games when we were playing. I have trouble sitting there watching it for 3 hours when I'm not involved in it. But playing baseball, I loved it. I always, heck, I wanted to be the pitcher or the catcher because I wanted to be involved in every play. And so, I had no business being a catcher. My knees already hurt and everything at that point. But it was really the only other way to be involved in the plays almost every pitch. So, I do definitely miss watching my kids play. I definitely missed playing baseball and football and some of those other things. It just is. I think it helps you learn the different styles of coaching and how different coaches relate to their players and things like that. And the different sports kind of have coaches do that differently. And I think that's a good thing for kids to learn. But what you explained it exactly right. It's almost impossible now. You would have to be an unbelievable, you got to be like the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback that goes to Oklahoma that can also play baseball. You've got to be that good in order to be able to get away with playing both sports anymore. And it's so much more difficult to be an outstanding athlete playing more than one sport.
Well, Indiana's playing in the NCAA tournament. They begin today at 2:00 down in Louisville. Louisville is a top 7 team, but they won't play them until tomorrow if they win. But the NCAA tournament starts. Indiana's doing pretty well, man.
Yep. Well, they got Illinois State today. Is that who it is?
Yes, sir.
Yep. That'll be a good one. And, I know they were a little disappointed in the Big Ten tournament situation, but what an outstanding year they had. And I know you and I got to spend a little bit of time at a game down there one time, and I know you go to most of the games, but just a fun atmosphere. You can tell those guys enjoy playing and they like their coach, and they're gonna graduate and move on in life and remember an awesome sports experience at Indiana University. And that speaks a lot for the coach and the program and the school in general.
Yeah, a lot of speaking of the facilities, all the facilities are at Indiana going through an upgrade, man. The locker room, I know you've seen the basketball locker rooms, but they're doing that pretty much to all the sports. Football locker rooms being redone right now, volleyball, wrestling, women's basketball, everything's getting a fresh coat of paint and new lockers and the whole deal. How important to that is that to players?
Well, it's awesome from a player's perspective to have that stuff. And yeah, that's all great. But most of that's recruiting. Most of that is involved in, you got to compete with the Joneses of the world. And in that situation, you've got to have the best facilities if you want to recruit the 3, 4, 5-star kids in there. And as a player, once you're there, you don't have a ton of say in it. So you don't really, you just hopefully have some of the benefits happen when you're there. But it's so important when it comes to Every player comes in there wanting to go to the NBA or the NFL or whatever it is. And when they have the facilities there that are so impressive and so awesome, and all the technology and all the different things that you can do, and they can help you with your schoolwork and all the stuff that is available to you, it's all part of the recruiting process. And you have to have that if you're going to be one of the nationally ranked recruiting programs every year. You've got to have those facilities in there, and Indiana is, they've done a good job, I think, updating them over the years. Now they're getting to the point where they're creating facilities that other schools will come in and look at and replicate. So I think Indiana's getting on the front end of having some of the best facilities in the country right now.
Are you getting the golf game brushed up?
I am getting ready to play with Pat Graham today in a Evansville Memorial golf outing. So I'm sure Pat will let me. I haven't hit a ball in probably 2 months, but I'm sure Pat will carry us through the day for a scramble victory out here.
Yeah, that's just something I can imagine right now. You two on a golf course, how well that goes.
Yeah, if the competitive juices will come out, I'm sure. Pat will act like he doesn't care, but as soon as we get out there, we'll be trying to beat everybody. I can promise you.
Sounds good, brother. Hope you have a good day out there. Tell Pat we said hello.
I'll do it. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thank you very much. Todd Leary, former Hoosier great, joining us here to wrap up things, put a bow on the week. It's been a great week for us, as always. We appreciate you joining us. We've got plenty more next week. Make sure you come back. Until then, have a great weekend. For Jake, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.